What if you learn one Indian accounting standard and that's the base for most of the Indians? Yes, that is the background of today's discussion. Hello everyone, welcome you all to our Sunday break time session. This is about Index 113 on fair value measurement. As the name suggests, this standard gives a learning about the measurement of fair value. Fair value is the most commonly used terms in various Indian accounting standards. However, all the Indian accounting standards refer to this particular index for the definition and measurement of fair value. So let's get started. I'll start with the definition of fair value. This is the definition which is given in Index 113. It is the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability in an orderly transaction between the market participants at the measurement date. So the important words to be noted here are the price, asset or a liability, orderly transaction, market participants and the measurement date. Basically, fair value is the exit price. So we can see from the definition that it would be the price that is received to sell the asset or paid to transfer a liability. So this is the price which you are going to receive on transferring or on exiting this asset or a liability. So it is referred to as the exit price. One of the main purposes of this fair value measurement is to reduce the gap between your balance sheet value and market value of an asset. So, in balance sheet you will have the historical cost of the asset. However, its market value as at date would be a different one. So, to reduce the gap between both these, fair value concept is introduced. There are so many components to this definition as we have seen it. So, the price, asset or liability, orderly transaction, market participants and lastly the measurement date. Each of them contribute in a different way to the fair value measurement.
தேங்காய் எவ்வளோ? ஒரு தேங்காய் 10 ரூபாயா? 4 ரூபாய். ஏயா 10 எங்க இருக்கு 4 எங்க இருக்கு? இத்தனை கிலோமீட்டர் லென்த் 9 ரூபாயா? 5 ரூபாய். 8 ரூபாய். 6 ரூபாய்.
So let us focus on each of the components in detail to understand how it contributes to the fair value measurement and some intricacies. So let's first start with the first and foremost component, which is the asset or liability, because this is what is being transacted and for which we are trying to find a fair value. So fair value measurement of an asset or liability will depend or include the characteristics of the asset or liability. So how do we know the worth of a person? Through his qualities, through his characteristics, right? Similarly, the value of an asset or a liability will be known by its characteristics. What are characteristics of the asset? So, if it's located in a particular place, that will contribute a value to it. So, its location, condition and restriction that it has are the main and important characteristics of the assets. The characteristics of the assets or liabilities will play a major role in the fair value measurement of such assets or liabilities. We'll take some examples in this regard. Let us suppose you have a car which you bought 5 years back at rupees 10 lakhs and you're trying to sell this car now. So what will be the price of this car? It will not be the same as 10 lakhs, I'm sure. Everyone will accept this. So how the price will be different for a person who has a similar car with your price? That will be depending on the characteristics of this car. So, it will depend on the working condition of your car. So, if the car has some dent or damages, then the value will be affected to that extent. And its working condition is not proper and requires a major repair, then to this extent also, the value will be affected, right? I'll give you another example to better understand. Suppose there is an entity A Limited which has a land. And this land has a legal restriction for development of commercial houses for a period of 10 years. This is one of the characteristics of the land which will define its fair value. So based on this, the value will be affected. At the same time, let us consider another example wherein the same entity, the entity has the restriction of development of commercial houses due to its restricted business purpose. Then, in this case, it's an entity-specific restriction and not an asset-specific restriction. So, this restriction for development of commercial houses is not the characteristics of the asset. It's an entity-specific restriction. This means that if the land is sold to another person, the land will not have any restriction for the other person. He can develop commercial houses in that. There will not be any restriction. Only this particular entity has restriction due to its business purpose. So there is one important rule here. The entity-specific restrictions should not be considered in the fair value measurement. Only the asset-specific restrictions and characteristics should be considered in the measurement of fair value. Let's move to the next important component, orderly transaction, which means that there should not be any force for entering into this transaction, and this transaction should be a normal one. So, fair value measurement assumes that the transaction takes place either in the principal market or in the absence of principal market in the most advantageous market. So, principal market is a place where there is a larger activity and there is a larger trading. On the other hand, most advantageous market maximize the amount that is to be received for the sale of asset and minimize the amount that is to be paid in case of a liability. So, it is a beneficial market for you. Let us take some examples to understand these markets. The same example of the car. When you are trying to sell your car, you can have two options. One is that you can visit a showroom and sell or replace your car for another car. Assume that this will give you a relatively lower amount. The other option is that to sell the asset to your neighbor who is willing to buy at a relatively higher price. So as per our example, this showroom is the principal market where there is a large volume of trade which is happening, and your neighbor is your most advantageous market because it maximizes the benefit to you. So let us take one more example to understand this better. Diamond, as you all know, has two markets. One is the domestic market and the other is the export market. The prices are generally lower in domestic market as compared to the export market. However, government has placed the cap on the exports to 10% of the total supply. For an example. So in which case, diamond is traded in larger quantities in the domestic market. However, the prices are higher only in the export market, even though the volumes are low. So in this case, domestic market is known to be the principal market and the export market, which fetch you higher prices, is the most advantageous market. But you should keep one important rule in your mind when you're seeing this component. If the principal market is available, then only its prices would be considered for fair value measurement. Only in the absence of the principal market, you will go in search of the most advantageous market and find the most advantageous market and consider its prices. So, when there is no principal market only, you can move to the most advantageous market. Otherwise, it is only the prices which are prevailing in the principal market will be used to considered to set the fair value of your asset or a liability. The third is a very, very important component which has brains to analyze. So, it's us, the market participants. Market participants are the people or the parties who transact this sale of an asset or transfer of a liability. So the market participants should be independent and not related parties. So what if they are related parties? The price should be at arm's length. Fair value measurements are done using the assumptions of the market participants. So in the land example that we have seen, the value will be determined by the various assumptions of the market participants, like whether these kind of restrictions are common for all types of land, what will be the use of this land after 10 years. So all these are assumptions of the market participants which will contribute to the fair value measurement. The fourth component is the starting point to the definition of the fair value, which is the most important one, the price. So price is the amount that is agreed to transact, to sell this asset or to transfer a liability. There are two aspects which we need to consider here. One of the purpose of the fair value measurement was to reduce the gap between the balance sheet value and the market value. So, the two types of cost here which you need to analyze are the transaction cost and the transportation cost. Transaction cost is the cost that you incur for each transaction that has happened. So it's not a characteristic of an asset or a liability, but it is only the characteristic of the transaction. So please understand, transaction cost will not be depending on the characteristic of the asset or a liability, but it is only the characteristics of the transaction. On the other hand, transportation costs which are incurred to transport the asset from the current location to the principal or the most advantageous market. So we have seen that one of the characteristic of asset is the location. So to transport it from the current location to the location where it is to be traded, which is my principal market or the most advantageous market, is relating to the characteristic of the asset. So these costs would be an inherent part since the same is depending on the characteristic of the asset. So the rule is transaction costs should not be considered for a principal market but will be considered for the most advantageous market for determination of the fair value. I repeat once again, for fair value measurement, you should not consider this transaction cost in a principal market, but this should be considered for the most advantageous market. On the other hand, transportation cost, which is depending on the characteristic of the asset, will be considered in the fair value measurement in case of both the markets. So we are done with all the components, namely asset or liability, transaction, market participants and the price. Let us move to the next part. There are some rules and considerations for the fair valuation of a non-financial asset, liability and equity instruments. So first let's concentrate on the non-financial assets. These are not frequently traded or dealt in the market like our financial assets. So the examples of non-financial assets would be fixed assets, etc. So its value will be dependent on the highest and best possible use of the same by the market participant. For example, one fixed asset will be very useful to a party. On the other hand, it will not be of the same use to the other party. So the fair value will be dependent on the highest and best possible use of the same by the market participant. So all this fair valuation will depend on the assumptions of the market participants. So how this asset is going to be of best value or best economic benefit for that market participants will be considered in determination of the fair value. Let us move to the fair valuation of the liability or equity instruments. So you have 3 steps to follow. The first thing is you should look for the quoted prices. Quoted prices are nothing but the traded prices. For example, if the shares are trading at a certain price, that is the price that you will consider as the fair value. In case you don't have quoted prices, then you move to the observable inputs, which are nothing but there are some market information which are relating to this particular asset or a liability. So that is the second part. When both these things are not available, you go for a valuation technique. In case of a liability or an equity instrument, what are the approaches that you can use is the income approach and market approach. Let us discuss in detail the valuation techniques which are available. There are 3 possible approaches which are available with respect to the valuation. The first and foremost is the market approach. So this will consider all the market relevant information for the determination of the prices. For example, you have quoted prices, you have P multiple, price earning multiple. So these inputs are considered and the fair value is determined using these inputs. Then it is known as market approach. On the other hand, you have another important approach which is the income approach, where we use income as the base, future earnings as the base for determining the value. So the most used technique, your DCF, discounted cash flow method, present value techniques and option pricing models are examples of this income approach. So cost approach is nothing but where you define the cost that is required to replace the asset to bring it in the working condition. We have discussed about 3 objectives of this Ind AS 113. The first is definition of fair value. Second is the framework for measurement of fair value. So we have covered these 2 objectives in the above part. And now we are into the third important objective of disclosure in the financial statement. So all the assets and liabilities are to be fair valued. And this requires 3 levels of inputs. So these are the 3 levels of inputs. Level 1, Level 2 and Level 3. Level 1 inputs are quoted prices. Quoted prices for the same instrument. Quoted prices for an identical prices in an active market for the identical assets or liabilities. So these are the Level 1 inputs. Level 2 inputs are other observable inputs. Observable inputs would mean for which there is some relevant market information, like you have P multiple, like you have yield curve. So these are examples of the observable inputs. The third input is the unobservable inputs, where you are not able to have a quoted price, where you are not able to have observable inputs. Then the fair value is determined using other methods, other valuation techniques. So that will come into the unobservable inputs. So for each of the asset or liability, you need to specify what are the inputs that are used to determine the fair value. This comes as a disclosure in the financial statements. We are into the last part of this Ind AS 113. What is the scope of this standard? So here we are to discuss what is not covered in this standard. So Ind AS 102 on share-based payments will not be using this Ind AS 113. Also, Ind AS 116, which deals with leases, will not use this fair value measurement standard. The other important scope exclusion is that measurement that may have similarities to fair value but are not fair value. I repeat, measurement that have similarities to fair value but are not fair value. Examples are something like NRV in Ind AS 2 on inventories and value in use on Ind AS 36, which deals with impairment of assets. There are also some disclosures exclusion. So you need not disclose the fair value for the plan assets in accordance with Ind AS 19. And also assets for which recoverable amount is the fair value less cost of disposal as per Ind AS 36. So these are the exclusions from Ind AS 113. Hope all of you would have enjoyed our Sunday special session. Hoping to meet you all soon in the next session. Thank you, and it's bye from the Break Time team.